Ok, vamos.
Para nós.
Podemos começar, pessoal, por favor.
Bom dia a todos e obrigado por aguardarem.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for waiting. Be welcome to the conference to announce the results of SUR Educational on the third quarter 2021. Let me inform you that this conference is being recorded and we will make it available on the company's website. Well, we can see this presentation also. If you need interpretation, we have these two available in the globe icon at the bottom, where you can read interpretation. When you select it, you can choose the language. It can be English or Portuguese, and you can also mute the original audio by clicking on mute original audio. For our Q&A session, please send your questions in the Q&A icon in the toolbar on your screen. You will ask the question live when the moment is due. We highlight the information in this presentation and what is being said in the conference with our financial goals and etc. They are beliefs and assumptions of the company administration and also information that is available now. Future considerations, they are only predictions. They depend on the circumstances that can happen or not. Investors may understand that general economic conditions, market conditions, and other operational factors can change the economic outcome of their educational. It can be different for the future considerations done today. Now I hand it over for the company so that they can start the presentation. Jânio says, good morning, and thank you so much to join our event to announce the results of the Q3 2021. It was an important trimester in a long-term strategy and shows the market of higher education is recovering gradually from the pandemics. And Ser Educational is benefiting from its competitive advantages with strong brands, as well as medicine courses and many courses in the hybrid education. We can speed up investments in intake of students and creating new courses and segments, improving rapidly our continued education ecosystem, and we could have record student intake. As a result of this positive intake season associated to acquiring Unifaz, Bonifacimed, UNESCO, and Juazeiro, we could grow our net revenue in 20% and our adjusted EBITDA in 24%, which I consider relevant because we have been expanding organically. At the same time, we consolidate these acquisitions, and we are positioned to grow back in the post-pandemic period. Regarding investments, we have the new Go Cursos platform that had defined business plan, and we are starting its ramp up. There's potential to be explored in our new marketplace, and we have been expanding our course base that are our own and are available in more than 6,000 courses, and we are enhancing our base partners. We have been expanding our commercial expenses, and we are opened partnership campus, and we could have fruit in this resumption in the market. We have been done 2 acquisitions. The first one is CDMV/DOC, which is a brownfield model for the grad school and the veterinary hospital, and we will have our ecosystem strengthened. And we can have theory content that can be digitalized, and the vet hospitals will have a better reputation in our market. Lastly, we have Prova Fácil. We have acquired this brand to enter in the test management segment and knowledge management segment as well. And this is a market with high potential. And we are trying to certificate professionals of the Prova Fácil, and it's an exponent in this segment. On slide 6, there's the result of the intake of the quarter, and there are some comments. First, it's the Ubiqua implementation success, which is our learning methodology. And we have important differentials in the market as learning by competencies, modern content, intuitive platform, and implementation of notable mastery and the tutors, among other innovations. Ubiqua has real differentials that have been creating important arguments for our commercial team to attract students for their attributes, and we can have arguments based, we reduced our argumentation based in price. Pricing has also been another important factor because the intake was strong and we could reduce the discounts offered. And we could start our intake 1 month earlier than 2020. We could have a volume of student base adequate. In the digital learning, we saw the consolidation of the strategy that we implemented mid last year. We could reposition the teaching, the digital education with content portfolio, which is broad and modern. As a consequence of this intake and good indexers of re-enrollment, we could grow our student base in 32%. And now our digital students doubled compared to Q3 20. And this was because of a positive intake we had during the first and second quarters 2021. On slide 8, we have our student base, and we are more and more relevant to the health segment and engineering as well for the hybrid education. And together they represent 70% of our student base, showing that SOAR Educational is speeding up the new era of hybrid higher education with their campi, offering courses that need practical lessons and doesn't need to be worried with student transition and hybrid and digital learning. So we have our omni-channel offer concept because these units offer hybrid courses and 100% online courses as well. We also need to notice that our student base who come from FIES, they are not relevant anymore. They are only 6% of our total student base and 12% of our hybrid base. So our student base of digital education is growing meaningfully, and they represent more than 40% of our total student base when we integrate file. And last, we have the average ticket analysis that has been important data because we have been stabilizing the prices with strong growth of intake. This shows that with the current pricing, demand is being stimulated, and this will happen us not only to grow our student base, but we'll be able to see an increase of the occupation rate of our units. And this is fundamental to resume our growth in the operational margins after a long period that we had challenged to have our buildings full of students. Now I hand it over to João Aguiar. João says, thank you, Daniel. Thank you for joining our event, everyone. We present a summary of the results on slide 9, and we have a highlight in the quarter and the growth of our student base net revenue in 20%. Our revenue has also grew 6%. And our digital education is back in our organic growth, and our company can combine organic growth and acquisitions. Our gross margin is as we expected because we resumed our presence in-person activities. It's the end of the deadline of discount that we got with rent negotiating during the pandemic. 1.6% dropped, and we are in higher levels than 60%. It's very healthy. Our adjusted EBITDA also presented a healthy growth of 24%, and we have a small margin growth. With this record intake, we could have margins that are more pressured because of the intake discounts that are offered during enrollment season. Our EBITDA adjusted margin had a slow improvement, a sound result because the margins supported our cost and investments in expansion and creation of new activities. The adjusted net profit reverted a slight loss that we had in this same period last year. The improved result reflects the revenue growth and maintenance of operational base. We improved the margin less because of the financial expenses increased, because we have now with a net debt near our one-time adjusted EBITDA versus net cash a year ago. Another factor that impacted was our cash generation, but we have our natural consequence because we granted a bit more in the negotiations to make sure our students, evaded students paid their debt. On slides 10 and 11, we have the analysis of the results in a segmented way. Most of them are medical schools, so EBITDA margin is rapidly growing as we expected, and we still have 1 year to 1.5 years for its maturation. In the hybrid education, we have a reduction of margins because of the student base is more compressed. Because of the second wave of pandemics, that we have an impact of intake in the first semester. On digital education, we have been trying a sound operation and financial growth.
Fulfilling important strategic objective with digital simulation, which is also to better balance the range of results between these segments of higher education. In this way, we have a company that is not only consistent and with results above the market average, but also quite resilient since our results are well distributed among the most important segments of higher education. On slide 12, we have the analysis of earnings excluding the effect of IFRS, which shows that there is an impact of around 7 million of our earnings during the adoption of this practice. On the slide 13, we have the evolution of our average collection period, where we also have a good news to present since the first time since the beginning of the pandemic. We had a general reduction in the average collection period compared to the previous quarter. This was due to the work we carried out to re-enroll our students, trying to take advantage of the reduction of the impact of the pandemic on the daily lives of students associated with a specific work to recover tuition or areas for students who had already dropped out. As a result, we had a significant improvement in the evasion indicator, as well as a reduction in the average term of account receivable, as you can see on the slide. In the slide 14, we are showing excellent and consistent cash generating this year, showing a good recovery compared to the last year in both pre and post CapEx analysis. It is worth remembering that this year we paid 28 million in taxes related to the Go Shop fine, and that if we adjust a cash generation for the year by this factor, we will have one of the best EBITDA to cash conversions in recent years, comparable only to the years when FAIRS was relevant business. Moving to the and they need the most our help. We have here the recuperation of credit, knowing the base of students was very important recovering the cycle. On the slide 15, we have the analysis of CapEx. As you can see, we have gradually resuming investment with a 55 increase in CapEx compared to the third Q. But the capital allocation profile is different from previous years. As you can see, we are now investing more in content creation and IT at the expense of campus renovations and buildings. This is an important process because we are investing in expanding the portfolio of courses and students' digital experience now as a way to build our continuing education ecosystem to ensure that we have the structure and offering necessary for this strategy to work. On slide 16, we have our indebtedness profile, which due to investment of more than 500 million in acquisitions of 7 companies that we made in the past 12 months, changed from neutral to the leverage of around 1 time net debt adjusted EBITDA. When we complete the acquisition of Fael, we will have make an investment of 280 million, increasing source indebtedness level to less than 2 times net debt. That is levels that are still adequate of comfortable for some more moves, as we are quite confident that we will have a process consistent growth and cash generation. We believe that our focus of maintaining financial strength is fundamental to maintaining our solid profitability ratios, even in such a volatile market periods as we are currently experiencing. Those were the comments, and now I give the floor back to Jânyo so that he can make final remarks. Thank you, Aguiar. Moving to slide 18, we have a summary goals for 2021 in our mission to build our continuing education ecosystem, generating profitable growth and solid diversification of activities in higher education. This was an important year in this regard. We reinforce our base of vacancies in medicine with acquisition of Unifasp, UNESCO, and Unifasmed. We will have a consolidation of Fael that will take us to cover the entire national territory with more than 1,000 digital education centers. Fael will reinforce our presence in the segment teaching of offers via hubs with solid potential to generate synergies, not only with cost and expenses, but also in revenue due to the complementary that will have source health and generating costs offered at Fael and Fael's contribution to its expertise in managing partner centers. So in 2022, our goals with this recent acquisition will be to make them accelerate the synergy gains processes and help us build an increasing well-defined and balanced portfolio of activities in segments of digital education and medicine. Another important objective for next year will be the resumption of the opening of hybrid units, which have been changing a lot of recent years. They are smaller units focused on having their presence in shopping centers and focus of offering hybrid premium and digital courses, creating a true omni-channel environment. We will expand our service to the population, taking advantage of CDMV docs, expects to expand this model of veterinary hospitals, taking advantage of the other 20 veterinary courses that we have spread across the country. And we'll have also create a new model of density clinics. With these initiatives, we will continue to create a new competitive advantages of our healthcare course, increasing the reputation of our brands and enabling us to offer on-site and online extension postgraduate courses, reinforcing our concept ecosystem. And last but not least, C Education will continue with its disciplined approach to operational management, costs, expense, and financial leverage, focusing on generating solid returns with growth for our stakeholders. Thank you very much, and we are at your disposal for any questions. And we'll be here for, we're going to start now the Q&A session. We ask that you make questions at a time. Let's remember that for asking, you use the Q&A button on the bottom of your screen. Your name is going to be announced, and then there will be a solicitation for you to activate your microphone. Let's start with our first question. From Victor Tomita, Analyst Southside. We're going to start your audio now that you can make your question, please. Good morning, everybody. We have 2 questions here. First, you guys can tell a little bit about reduction of the digital evasion of students, and even with the growth of the students, I would like to know as well if you guys could share with us about the profile about EdTech and acquisitions and the types of new functionalities that you guys believe will bring more value to serve. Vitor, he's Rodrigo. I think evasion of the digital has 2 explanations. First, mathematical. The base growth a lot, And then when you calculate everything, it looks like that the number growth, but the number is smaller. We have to see also operational alterations we made on this period, on the experience of the student, trying to make that the student can focus better on the platform. So we have the introduction of a new concept, the tutor of experience that helps the student to navigate on this environment, not stopping in our academic questions. He's more or less like a coach that can start and grow the feeling of being part of the system as you have on the hybrid system. We change also the content that helps the student stay motivated and studying longer times. We realize as well that helps a lot this elevation is the concept of the payment. On the courses that go until 2 years, the students don't need to do anything, then put their credit card there to have the billing of the system. The system cut the student if the student doesn't pay more than 2 months. This reduces this accumulated evasion. And last but not least, we have to remember the way we are selling these courses with these students. Students, they can do longer courses when we manage that on the selling of the course. And short courses helps also make this integration. When we look, the evasion on the digital course happens on the 3rd to the 4th semester, then looks like there is the same type of evasion like short courses. This way, we can prevent this evasion on longer courses, because some students don't have enough discipline to follow the students on the digital way. And talking about EdTech, there's a very big universe. There is lots of themes we are looking at now, and some of them we are very surprised because we're finding solutions we never thought about. The concept we are buying now is to bring things to the team that we're not able to make possible in the short term. So in this way, we can grow our base in this way. So Educ is the same. We could not believe that they were doing what's possible. So they were able to show to us what they're able to do, and liking that, we made the acquisition. And when we talk about EdTech, we have to bring as well things to us that we're not able to produce. So today we understand that for Ser Educacional to develop, we have to create this ecosystem idea, more integrated system. As my colleague here was talking about evasion, first, we made some changes on the operational model, on the portfolio of courses we offer. When you look at the operational model, when we talk about the tutor guardian, is a person who has contacted the student, and then we create a different relation with the student on the courses, the way we make the course, and then reducing also the duration of the course is associated to the new profile of the professional in the market. So we want to have like faster courses to put the person able to work in the market. And then we have to, as my colleague also said, the model of paying the course through the credit card. Our institution was the first institution to use Pix as a model of payment. All of that is helping to reduce the students' evasion. And we have very satisfactory results with these changes we have been making. Thank you very much.
A nossa próxima pergunta é do Ian Seskin, analista sell-side.
Our next question is asked by Ian Seskin for BTG Bank. Ian, you are going to ask your question now. Go ahead. Hi, everyone. Jânio, Aguiar, Rodrigo. Can you hear me?
Vocês conseguem me ouvir? Alô, pessoal?
Can you hear me? Yes, yes, we can hear you. Go ahead. Ian says, two questions. First one, with regards to PDD. There's relevant material regarding PDD on re-enrollment indexes. Can we consider this improving as a recurring result of the company, as we have now an improvement on vaccination and pandemic situation in the country? And the next one, it's a follow-up from the previous question, which is about pipeline and organic and non-organic investments. You talk about this inorganic pipeline, talking about edtech, but I would like to focus on veterinary medicine and medicine. I'd like to understand what's your views on that. Can you see inorganic possibilities in order to expand these segments, or would we like talk about a growth environment, organic growth, I mean, with more veterinary hospitals? Thank you so much. João says, thank you, Ian. The first question, when we talk about the reduction and our better re-enrollment levels and our re-enrollment, we have an improvement in the PDD. As we faced a critical period in the pandemics, now we are having more students coming back, and as the pandemic is dropping, the pandemic's levels are dropping. These students, as they are coming to our campi again, we're having more success. We are having a better student intake, and the tickets are being paid also. In the pandemics, many students didn't cancel the will of studying with us, but they only suspended that. And now we are having these students back, and we are able to ask them to pay their old tickets. We still worried with the macroeconomics, but we expect an improvement because of the internal efforts that we have been doing, and we are having more students with us. Jânio says, thank you so much for the question. I think you asked about M&A pipeline, veterinary medicine, and medicine. We still have many possibilities of acquisition in this field. We would like to have a broad ecosystem of continued education, and not only an education marketplace or to be dependence of in-person courses. We still have possibilities to acquire some edtechs that will complement this education ecosystem that we'll have with Go Cursos and also the existing products, so that we can meet all the demands, and some of these alternatives may be materialized. Regarding veterinary medicine, we have many courses. We have three hospitals in place. We have Go Vet in Guarulhos, 3 units in Rio de Janeiro, and we have other units that have veterinary medicine. And we will have some acquisitions. I mean, it's possible to have some acquisitions, and in cities where our courses are relevant, so that we can perceive, people can perceive new products with undergraduate courses, open courses, and specialization courses that are related to these products. In medicine, we may have new pipelines, but our focus is to diversify our products with our continued education system. We cannot be dependent on hybrid education or digital one, but we need an ecosystem of education with many products that are tied to our core business, which is higher education.
Perfeito, Jane e Aguiar. Muito obrigado novamente.
Ian says, perfect, you both. Thank you so much.
A nossa próxima pergunta.
Our next question, Pedro Leandro, analyst in SIT.
Por favor.
Leandro, I hand it over to you.
Oi, pessoal, bom dia. Obrigado.
Leandro says, hi everyone, thank you so much.
São duas perguntas aqui também do meu lado.
There are two
Uma primeira
questions
aqui
on my
sobre
side. The
ambiente
first
competitivo,
one is
né,
about
tá um pouquinho que vocês
competitive
enxergaram,
environment.
de
I would
comparação
like
dos
to know your
ciclos, tentando
views in
projetar
this
aí o
last
próximo ano, o que que
cycle
vocês
and
esperam,
maybe have a projection for the next
de
year.
nessa dinâmica competitiva. Então, essa é
In
uma
this
dúvida.
competitive
E a
dynamics,
segunda
this
é
is
que,
my
por exemplo,
first
temos
question. The
essa
second
receita
one
acelerada de
is
inflação.
about
Queria
this
entender aqui um pouco a visão de
recent
vocês, o que isso
improvement
pode
of
impactar
inflation,
uma captação
of
ano
the
que vem,
inflation
pensar
rates.
no
Are we going to
operacional.
have an impact
E
because of the
pensando na parte
inflation
também
in
de
next
custo,
year's
se
intake?
se cria
And
algum
about
desafio
our
para alguma linha
costs, are we
específica.
going to have
Vocês
challenges
podem
for a
um pouco mais.
specific line of business?
É isso,
Are
obrigado.
you paying attention to that? These are my questions. Thank you. Janil says. So I'll start and they complement if they wish. As incredible as it may seem, we had a smaller growth. We could see a reduction on the discounts because of the intake is more than we expected. The intake will be favorable. We have started this process with responding well. We could do it in advance compared to the last year. The first and second semesters intake of last year, they extended a bit. In 2021, the intake process finished as we expected. The 2022 intake process is ongoing, and we will have a good response. As an effective risk, we see that with the growth of inflation, we will have an increase on the unemployment level in Brazil, but this is a risk for the market as a whole, not only higher education industry. When we see the future, we have a possibility to have an average ticket improved. This is a post-pandemic result. João Guiar says, Leandro, when we look at the inflation rates that we estimate for next year in the macroeconomic environment, we are worried, of course. When we look at our main courses, some of them are linked to the inflation rates. However, we are aware of what we can do next year, considering our synergies that we are going on with the accomplished acquisitions, with our relationship with our vendors, because they are impacted on the expense and costs. And our educational matrix also, they leverage improvements and cost efficiency. We are worried and we need to have a daily monitoring of this situation. We have an environment that we can keep our characteristics, which is to be strict and reach the best conditions, giving the students return on our can't be. And we had recent acquisitions. So this inflation pressure would be a bit smaller in our results impact. Leandro says, okay, thank you so much.
A nossa próxima pergunta vem do
Our next question is Carlos Herreras.
analista sell-side da Condor
He's
Insight.
sell-side analyst of Condor Insider. Please, Carlos, go ahead.
Carlos, por favor.
Carlos, are you there?
Iremos passar a nossa próxima pergunta.
Now let's go to our next question as Carlos is not here. Marcelo Santos,
Da JP
sell-side analyst of
Por favor, Marcelo.
JP Morgan. Please, Marcelo, go ahead.
Bom dia a todos. Obrigado
Marcelo
por pegar minhas
says,
perguntas.
hi
Duas.
everyone, thank
Primeiro, eu
you for
queria perguntar um pouco mais
calling me.
especificamente da dinâmica de
First,
tickets
I
de
would like to
AD,
talk
apesar de
about
vocês
the
terem tido uma
online
captação bastante
education
forte, o ticket
tickets.
até teve uma leve subida.
The
Vocês acreditam
ticket
que isso seria a gente chegou realmente
improved
no
a
bottom
bit.
e a partir de agora a gente poderia
Are
começar a
we
ver até
going
expansões desse
to
ticket?
see
E a
expansions of
segunda
these tickets?
pergunta é a questão
And
do
the
avanço do
second
Bico,
question is
ensino
about
híbrido. Existe
BICO
alguma
advancements
possibilidade
and
de, nas
hybrid
unidades atuais,
education.
vocês devolverem
In the
parte da
current
área ou
units, are you
querer
going
racionalização
to
de metragem?
to
Não sei
have
se vocês vão criar
smaller
novas unidades, mas nas
campuses?
atuais, ter racionalização por causa da expansão do ensino
Are we
híbrido?
going
Essa é a outra pergunta.
to have smaller campuses or not? These are my questions. Rodrigo says, regarding to the tickets, in the digital education as a whole, we observed that the dynamics of this segment tends to change. Many people in this market, many of them were successful, and many of them saw this is not a simple market as they thought in the beginning. We believe that a consolidation of the digital and 100% online education will happen. They will consolidate, and on the other side, we'll implement the health courses and engineering courses, especially in FILE. We'll have a more structured campus in one side that can work with all the campus, the campi, I mean, in FILE and other places. This will improve our ticket in these kinds of courses that we cannot sell them without this structure. Bearing that in mind, I will tell you, you are right. One part of the pricing pressure tends to diminish. And this higher education industry, with some players leaving the market that cannot keep up with the current pricing, specifically in the specialization course, in the grad school course, these are the industries that suffered with the online use. So depending on the evolution of course mix for engineering and health areas, this changed a bit. With regards to the rented spaces, I think we got to a level where the volume of buildings that are not rented anymore they stopped. I think now they will have more students in the buildings because we will have an increased student volume next year. And this will make us to have a higher occupation of these buildings, and also because of the students that come from the clinics. And this also helps we having more students in our buildings and having an increased margin, because we had an expressive number of students in the latest years. This semester, we could stabilize it, and we didn't have an increase of this number because the first semester was very difficult. Our starting point was complex to have students in our buildings again. We will not have lots of adjustments in building occupation. If we are successful in the summer intake of our student base, we're thinking having building occupation levels that we had before in buildings that we didn't have many students there. Marcelo says, no, Jânio says, some units that we started in 2008 that we reduced the numbers of building, these units are performing well now. They are occupying bigger spaces. We need to see the result of the institutions that in units that are consolidating and the ones that are starting now. We need to see how the intake will proceed from now on. And we imagine that some units need space and other ones, they are resuming their intake process, and we are keeping some classrooms and the level of occupation. Marcelo said, thank you so much, Jânio. Our next question is Mauricio Cepeda, sell-side analyst. Please, Mauricio, go ahead.
Hello, Jânio and Rodrigues. Rodrigues from CP, thank you for the space. I would like to ask something that was talked already before. It's about the perspective. When you guys did this diversification of the veterinary hospitals, and with a different strategy, I would like to know how is this working, and if you guys are going to create a different unity with different buildings. How do you guys see that? Thank you. Maurício, that's a very good point. We are step by step differentiating the company in three blocks. One is what we call the 3L digital. It's going to have like all the digital assets. We are creating an area first, and then to consolidate that as an enterprise that's going to be dedicated to operate those clinics and veterinary hospitals. We have already a team working on this process, and in a few weeks we're going to approve the budget for these areas. And the third point, the third enterprise, is a hybrid operation where we have medicine inside and parts also in the clinic, and then we have the hybrid system there. These operations and the hybrid model and the clinic operational, they have to work in a symbiotic way, the way we use the labs and the higher education. And with the evolution of those business, we're going to report that in a more separated way so that people can see the evolution of this data. And that was the reason why we started using the EBITDA in the medicine course in a separate way. And with the clinics, they have the size and a more specific and relevant size. We're going to segregate their data.
A segunda pergunta, se eu não estou enganado, o que você espera, o que a gente espera do híbrido digital, não é isso?
What do we expect from the
eu tinha colocado essa pergunta por escrito, mas o colega já perguntou sobre isso.
But the colleague already asked that. If you can
explorar pouco mais a questão.
Explore a little bit more the question. It's okay. We talked a little bit about it before, and we expected the hybrid system is going to recover with the gathering of new students here, and we think that we're going to have better levels than in 2019. With the going back to normal life, and we see a growth in our intake of students. So in this global way of this ecosystem we offer for our students, they're going to see a variety of products that they can, we have here already the Go courses, and in our inside our institutions and our partners, putting our products to sell. on this
E
ecosystem,
com a vinda da FAEL, o
with
crescimento dos polos aí, que nos leva para mais de 1000 polos, e mais
coming
alguns
from
que
the
nós estamos
FAEL,
prospectando para
we are
abertura,
growing
vai nos dar
new
capilaridade
possibilities
nacional
and also
para levar principalmente
the
os cursos da área
possibility
de saúde e
to
de engenharia que
bring
nós temos e que a FAEL não
engineering
tem. Eu
courses and
diria que nós
medicine
estamos
to
relativamente
Brazil
otimistas com o crescimento
as a
dos
whole.
produtos híbridos
So
dentro
this
dessa
offering of
retomada da vida
hybrid
normal.
products, we see
Os
it as a very
digitais, eles não
important
crescem
step
talvez na
on the
velocidade que
retaking
cresceram nesse
of the
período
market.
da pandemia, mas eles vão ter
In
um
this
crescimento
pandemic, we have some
significativo em
step
função da
backs,
entrada de
but
produtos
still
novos, do
we
número de
were able
polos e,
to
acima de tudo, desse
sustain some
ecossistema que está
growth.
sendo montado, devido ao
And in
custo
this
que
system,
está vindo,
we
trazendo
have some new
junto
courses,
toda
bring
essa
with
parte
them
de produtos não regulados que
new
nós não oferecemos no passado.
products that we were not able to offer in the
Perfeito, Jane.
past.
Claríssimo.
Thank you, Jane.
Obrigado. Obrigado, Rodrigo.
Thank you,
também.
everybody.
A nossa próxima pergunta
The next
é do Carlos
question
Herrera, analista
is from
sell
Carlos
side da
Helera,
Condor Insight.
Southside
Podemos ver.
from Condensite.
São duas perguntas.
There are two
Vocês podem
questions.
entregar uma visão de como a empresa está indo para o 4T21?
You guys can
E a segunda pergunta
deliver
é:
a view
como vocês
how
estão
is going to be
enxergando o ano de
the fourth
2022?
quarter and
Quais
how
são os
are you
principais
guys
riscos
arriving in
e oportunidades da
2022?
companhia?
What are the risks and opportunities for the company?
Carlos,
Carlos,
obrigado pelas perguntas.
thank you for the questions.
O quarto TRI, ele, no nosso setor,
The fourth quarter
baseado em semestres, ele deve seguir uma tendência interessante, tal qual foi o terceiro.
Very interesting as the third. The big difference is going. We're going to see a dilution of the medium ticket when we see that we are gathering new students. The other point is, in comparing to the third, is because the ticket in the third semester were able to maintain with the record gathering of new students. Even with the discounts we gave to get more students. We will gain some 99 reais discount for 2-3 months. There was a big weight on the ticket, but with the growth of the number of students, we could dilute those costs. And we see here the reduction of the cost of marketing that is going to impact more on the fourth quarter. On the other side, the costs with our workers is going to have also a good impact on these costs because we're going to not have this cost now. For 2022, we see few opportunities that we would like to talk here. First, is the hybrid system growing also because of the pandemic. Even if last year we have some impact on the gathering of new students. So we don't see a third wave happening next year, and just that is going to help a lot the gathering of new students. In our sector, we can see some behavior that is year by year. And if we see a different gathering of students from one year to the next, and with the coming back to normal life during the pandemic, we can see some consequences, positive consequences on the growth of students' numbers. And here, another important point for 2022 is the consolidation of FAEL. There was a very important acquisition, and we're going to see any week now the approval from CADE, and we see in a very positive way there's going to be very soon the approval from the CADE, and we see the approval happening even already this year. This is going to help us to consolidate base of
das aquisições recentes, ou seja,
education,
o processo mais
helping to consolidate also the last
sinergias, ele acontece
acquisitions we had and helping the synergy between our products, our portfolio of
integração das
courses
sinergias.
to
Então,
integrate
nós
between them
acreditamos
and
que o
offering
setor como
a
todo
broader
está se
offering to
recuperando
the
da
students. We
pandemia,
see a big recovery
e se tudo
for
caminhar dentro dessa
2022,
expectativa,
and
o próximo
developing
verão
like
vai ser o
that,
primeiro verão
next
depois
summer
de
is going
2
to be
anos
the
sem
first
impacto
summer
significativo da pandemia, o que deve
after
nos
2
ajudar
years
a
without
recuperar
impact from
resultado.
the
O que
pandemic,
nós pretendemos
helping us
fazer
to
um
recuperate
trabalho de
results
resultados
and showing
que
that the
seja
work we have been
combinando
doing
uma
is
tentativa
doing a
de
very good
recuperação de margens, que tem tudo para acontecer,
symbiosis
mas
between
associado ao investimento no crescimento
the
orgânico e com
investment
aquisições.
and
Ou seja,
organic growth,
continuar
like
crescendo com boa
acquisition. We want to grow
rentabilidade.
with acquisition and in an organic way.
Lembrando que para fazer perguntas,
Remembering to
orientamos que
make
sejam enviadas
questions,
via ícone de
please
Q&A
send them
no botão
through the
inferior de sua
Q&A
tela.
button at the bottom
Por
of
padrão da
your
dinâmica,
screen.
seus nomes serão anunciados para que
Your
façam sua
your
pergunta
names are going to
ao
be
vivo.
announced and you're going to be invited to open your mic.
Não havendo mais perguntas, encerramos
With
a
no
sessão de
further
perguntas e
questions, we're going to
respostas.
finish this session
E
now.
agora, gostaríamos de passar a palavra
We would
para as
like to give the
considerações
floor
finais da
for the
companhia.
final considerations.
Obrigado a todos por participarem da nossa
Thank you, everybody
divulgação
who
de
have been here
resultados.
with us
A nossa área de
during
relações com
our
investidores estará à disposição para ajudar
results
vocês com mais esclarecimentos,
report,
caso
and
julguem
we are
necessário.
available for any questions you guys want to send us.
A videoconferência de resultados referente ao
The
terceiro trimestre de
conference
2021
about the
do Ser
third
Educacional está encerrada.
quarter of
O
2021
Departamento de
is
Relações com
finishing.
Investidores estará à disposição para
The
responder
Department
demais
of
dúvidas e
Investment
questões.
Relationships is
Muito
going to be
obrigado aos
open for
participantes
questions
e tenham
and for
bom
any
dia.
issue. Thank you very much. Have a good day.